How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, this is one of them videos. Go get your shit. Oh, True Royal about to deliver again. Now, I know y'all been waiting for me, but in order for me to do what I do, I have to wait for certain things to be presented over here on the True Royal family or True Royal. Now, before we get knee deep up in this bitch's ass, this is what I want the royal family to know. I'm not ignoring no one's emails. I simply can't do certain videos. So there are others in the new black media that cover these things that are pertaining to us, that touch our heart, that affects our lives, and I'm keeping abreast of all of what's going on. It's too draining for my psyche. So I am committed going in depth on Mr. Arbery's situation. And I'm like anybody else. I'm out here watching other YouTubers too that I support. But I simply, my psyche can't. And I know some people wonder, well, why True Royal don't cover certain things? I have learned in my 4 years of doing videos my limitations. And so we got Taryn Rain, Sahilio, Elisa Cabrera, Phil from the Advice Show. We got Nicole. We got a slew of folks that I didn't even left out that are doing an impeccable job of covering all the fuckery that we continue to deal with. So my specialty over here is going deep. So I just wanted to put that out so y'all don't think I'm ignoring you, because I'll read that stuff and watch those videos and everything. It was a lot of stuff that I got yesterday, and I greatly appreciate it. So, as the plot thickens, when I say juicy, I mean real kind of juicy. You know, just when I think I done really brought the juice, oh, I'm getting ready to bring some more juice and a whole lot of fuckery. So I have to unpack all these many different things. So first and foremost, this is a whole different look. DA Jackie Johnson, a culture of corruption. And I'm going to put this this link that y'all can read this article, because I have so much other stuff. I do have an article, a little bit of an article to read the royal family. But off with their heads. Jackie Johnson, most recent attempts at silencing her constituents. It's the best I can get it out, my royal family. Oh, there's some people in her ass, knee ass deep. And y'all can have all the latest of everything you see. It is dated May 26, 2020. So let's see what's really going on in her world. So I got this video. It's a short video, but a power video that I want the royal family to listen to. I don't want to miss 1 second of this.
Our reporters. Well, new tonight, 2 Glenn County commissioners are being asked to stay quiet when it comes to the Ahmaud Arbery case. Documents show the Brunswick District Attorney does not want elected officials commenting on the handling of the case. In a letter, Jackie Johnson's own attorney says statements made about her office are false. On your side, Troy Kless has the latest for us, all new tonight at 6.
The shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery, a topic of conversation at the national and local level, Glynn County Commissioner Peter Murphy discussed the case during a Facebook Live Tuesday night. In a wide-ranging interview, he even discussed a cease and desist letter from Jackie Johnson's attorney.
And basically to shut up because we were being accused of malicious slander.
The letter says that the commissioners should not make statements about Jackie Johnson, her office, or their involvement in the Ahmaud Arbery case. A lawyer for the commissioners says there is no evidence of actual malice. We asked Jackie Johnson's office for comment Wednesday. They deferred to previous statements that the Brunswick DA's office immediately recused themselves due to conflict of interest. Greg McMichael, a man charged in Arbery's death, was a former DA investigator. Since the shooting, protests have asked for Johnson to be voted out of office. It's among the many calls asking for justice for Ahmaud. Troy Kless, First Coast News, on your side.
All right, my royal family, let me take this down so we don't have to deal with this anymore. And let's go back here. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, I'm messing up. So this bitch is losing sleep. Oh, she losing sleep. And y'all gonna hear a very powerful, juicy interview. All right? But before we get in this, I gotta deal with some other things. So I gotta present the fuckery. All right? So let me read this article, because I've been keeping the family abreast on some things. All right, let me get my thing together here. And so, Ahmaud Arbery slaying, Georgia judge sets June 4th hearing for the 3 men charged with his murder. This gonna be a damn bond hearing, my royal family. This gonna be some fuckery, my royal family. So let's not lose sight. June 4th. So let me read a little bit here. A Georgia judge has scheduled a hearing next week for the 3 men charged with the murder, the outright lynching, and the fatal shooting of Mr. Arbery. Court officials said Wednesday. So Glynn County Magistrate Court Judge Wallace E. Harrell set a preliminary hearing for June 4th. Said the court clerk, let me see, some of this stuff I'm going to pass up. Let's see. Okay, they said here the judge will determine whether authorities have sufficient evidence to charge the men in Mr. Arbery's death. Okay, let me skip some of this because this other stuff we didn't already heard. Okay, all 3 men, check this out. All 3 men remain jail pending a bond hearing before a different judge. Defense attorneys for the McMichaels have urged people not to rush to judgment in the case. Yeah, you saying not to rush to judgment, but they rushed to judgment and killed our royal son. So you catch the play, my royal family? All 3 of the men remain jail pending a bond hearing before a different judge. See, there's some fuckery going on. So they go into one judge for the preliminary to determine, if there's probable cause. And then somewhere along the way, they're going to have some type of bond hearing. But I think it's going to be up in this. I just don't trust nothing up in this. And then what I don't get is, maybe I'm not understanding how shit work. What happened to the grand jury part? You don't necessarily need a grand jury. See, these people playing and stalling, stall tactics and shit. So I just want to keep the royal family abreast. June 4th. I'm on this like flies on shit. All right? So let's listen to some more fuckery.
Arbery is speaking with News4 Jax.
Awanda Jones says the 3 men charged in her son's death never reached out to her following the deadly shooting of her son. Her family's attorney says Glenn County Police and the District Attorney's Office also refused to release the full employment file on one of the suspects, Gregory McMichael, who used to work in the DA's office. He and his son Travis are seen on this now painfully familiar cell phone video confronting Arbery before he was shot 3 times with a shotgun. News4JAX I-Team investigator Kelly Wiley is joining us live with the latest in the case. Kelly.
Today, the attorney for Ahmaud Arbery's family told us he believes neighbors in the Satilla Shores neighborhood coordinated to hunt whoever it was that was committing thefts, they believed, and trespassing in the neighborhood. He wants to see text messages and Facebook posts between neighbors and officers put into the federal investigation file.
This was absolutely a coordinated attempt.
Today, the attorney for Ahmaud Arbery said he believes some Satilla Shores neighbors coordinated to capture Arbery before the deadly shooting. Surveillance video from the day of the shooting shows one neighbor call police as Arbery goes into the construction site in the neighborhood.
And he's running right now. There he goes right now. Okay, what is he doing?
In police reports, Gregory McMichael told investigators he and son Travis grabbed their guns and followed Arbery through the neighborhood because they suspected he was a burglar. Arrest warrants show another neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, repeatedly attempted to confine and detain Arbery using his vehicle.
Now we're not exactly sure how they were communicating or what their mechanism for coordinating this or how long this coordination had been taking place. But the reason that you see the FBI and the GBI involved in the arrest of William Bryan is because they're looking at the greater conspiracy, meaning that there was more thought that went into in the day that Ahmaud Arbery was murdered.
Arbery's death has sparked outrage across the country. Arbery's mother, Wanda Jones, said her life will never be the same.
I was going to visit the memorial site, and I saw the McMichaels getting their boat, getting ready to go on the river. I mean, they were living their lives like they hadn't even taken a life. And at that point, it really began to feel very, very unfair.
Gregory McMichael's son Travis and William Roddy Bryan are all in jail facing felony murder charges. Attorneys for Arbery's family say attempts to request the complete public personnel file for former district attorney investigator Gregory McMichael have been denied. And again, we're talking about the complete personnel file for Gregory McMichael. We've received a version of that personnel file, and we've since contacted the district attorney's office to see if we can get records that might have been taken out of it. We were told they believe that was the full personnel file, and they are checking into it for us. We're going to continue to press to get more answers on that. Reporting live in Brunswick, Kelly Wiley, Channel 4, the local station.
All right, my royal family, let me take this down because I don't want no pop-ups. So, we're going to get much deeper. And now we're going to go over here. Now, we're going to listen to this interview from Dr. Murphy. Now, he is a commissioner. He, again, is not a lawyer at all. All right? So it's time to lean all up in this, my royal family. I mean, you talking about juicy. So what I did, I had chopped down like about almost 6 minutes of this stuff, the unnecessaries, to get into the necessary. So, and y'all know that video that I played, because let's not lose sight here. She's upset because she don't want people talking no more. But her ass ran down there to the Billy Bob station and was running her mouth, and she just thought that was going to suffice enough. Trust and believe. This demon ain't getting no sleep. Because what y'all about to hear is epic.
Just about 4 years ago now, won that race, and I've been the District 2 Commissioner down here since January 1 of 2017, 3.5 years.
Okay. And my understanding, Dr. Murphy, is that you're not seeking re-election.
I decided back probably in October, November, not to seek re-election, correct. it is one and done. I've worked hard for 3.5 years. I've floated some ideas that have become controversial, and it's time to get somebody else with newer and different ideas to take over the seat. So my decision not to seek reelection had absolutely nothing to do with what we're facing here and now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point for clarification because you made that decision back in November. I saw some articles that mentioned that you were going to not run for reelection. Now, let me ask you a question because a lot of people don't necessarily know how the districts are allotted. District 2 is primarily St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, Jekyll Island, and over in that area of Brunswick on the east side of the mainland, correct?
You're exactly right. It's three major islands is my district. There's 5 districts in Glynn County. Glynn County has about 85,000 people. 5 districts. So each district has roughly 17,000 residents, apportioned by population. And we also have 2 commissioners that are called at-large commissioners that are voted on by all the residents in Glynn County. So there's a total of 7 commissioners.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate you for making that clarification because a lot of people are, to be honest with you, a lot of people are just now getting their minds around what commissioners do, right? So
Right.
Can you, for the people who are watching, this is going to be a little bit informational as well, and we're going to talk about some other issues, but can you explain to a lot of folks the relationship between the Board of Commissioners and the Glynn County Police Department and how what type of responsibilities you all have on the accountability side when it comes to the police department?
Sure. In Glynn County, there's actually 3 different law enforcement agencies. The city of Brunswick has its own city police department. And as I'm sure you're aware, this incident did not take place within the confines of the city of Brunswick. And there's no consolidation between Brunswick and Glynn County. And so they have their own police force. As I said, the city of Brunswick police force. The county has their own county police force. And we also have a sheriff department, the sheriff being a constitutionally elected officer. And that's just the way it's been down here for years. And in the chain of command and the organizational chart, the police chief answers to our county manager, who answers to the Board of Commissioners. So we are in the chain of command directly with the chief of police of the county police department and his officers.
Okay, so the chief of police answers to the county manager, who answers ultimately to you all. So that falls under your auspices or umbrella.
It's exactly the way the organizational chart looks.
Okay, so let's talk about if there was an instance of any police misconduct that may happen in the Glynn County Police Department. How does that make it up the chain to you all? And then alternatively, what type of actions or reactions can you all have to that type of investigation that may happen for any officer misconduct that may happen in GCPD?
Typically, the officer misconduct would be handled by internal affairs and handled within the department with reprimand or discipline within the department. As I'm sure you're aware, our chief of police, John Powell, who started as chief of police January 2018, was indicted by our district attorney, Jackie Johnson. So he was put on administrative leave, and we have had multiple executive sessions discussing that. And as I'm sure you're aware, as an attorney, I can't really discuss what we have done internally regarding that issue as of yet, but it's working itself through the legal system.
Okay, so there's a legal obligation there, but I think more people are asking on the administrative side. Administratively, as the Board of Commissioners, do you all have the administrative right and or privilege to dole out any consequences for any misconduct that may occur?
Are you talking about it at an individual officer's level?
Yes.
I've never seen that happen to an individual officer.
Okay.
We we have been in contact with the chiefs if we have concerns about the way, what is happening with a particular officer's situation, and we discuss it. And obviously, if we're dissatisfied, we would look into that at a different level. But thus far, that has not really been an issue that I have seen really become.
Okay, so let's get really, I guess, specific here, because in 2018 we are aware, and this has been reported, certainly is a fact that, and you mentioned, Chief Powell, that one of the officers, his name is Robert Rash, was sent a letter of reprimand regarding his failure to arrest a fellow officer, Corey Sasser, for what then Police Chief Powell said was a clear criminal violation on Sasser's part. And then we also discovered in December that Rash sent a text message that many believe empowered Greg McMichaels with quote unquote police power to be able to police the neighborhood in a way that was not helpful and may have ultimately led to some fatal consequences. Now, does the Board of Education or Board of Commissioners have any administrative duty or burden to determine whether or not an officer, a specific officer, is fit for duty? Because our understanding is that he's still employed with the Glenn County Police Department despite these several instances.
Well, you mentioned two different officers, one being Officer Sasser, who really was probably as bad an apple as we ever had in the barrel, and that's a completely separate discussion for a separate day. And
yep.
I think if you really dig deep into how Chief Powell tried to handle that situation, he really tried his best to come down hard on Sasser and to get him, essentially not only put in jail for his actions, but ultimately removed from the department. But as I say, that will come out in separate actions. So in terms of Officer Rash, my understanding is the following. It was said in one news publication that I saw that he deputized McMichael Sr. I can assure you that there was nothing of the case being done. I know it catches everybody's attention and inflames the situation, but I've been told directly that there's no power for an officer to deputize anybody to do anything in that fashion. Interestingly, McMichael Sr. was deputized by our current county sheriff back in 2014 when he worked for the district attorney Johnson in her office as the chief investigator. But again, that's a separate situation. So what you're asking is, what is the status of Officer Rash? Well,
yes, sir.
I discussed that specifically with a current interim chief, and his situation is being looked at by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. We have not gotten that report back, so it will come back once they've done their investigation. It'll come back through the system. But I just want to clarify: Officer Rash had no capability, no powers, no entitlement to deputize anybody, and it did not happen.
So Dr. Murphy, so I'm an attorney, so I've worked in the district attorney's office, so certainly wanted to kind of follow up on that, because I think the question becomes, even if there's an IA investigation, which I'm pretty sure there's an internal affairs investigation and the GBI is doing some investigation as well, is there an administrative right and or duty when something like this comes up to remove that person from their current role? Because if I'm a citizen and I'm calling or texting a police officer and they say to me as a citizen of Glenn County, hey, if you need any assistance or help, reach out to this gentleman, regardless of whether or not they had the power to do that. If they didn't have the power to do that, as a citizen, I don't know that. So if he's telling me to reach out to this gentleman, I think I would do that as a citizen. So I'm just trying to get at whether there's kind of an administrative piece that needs to be taken care of, at least at the police department level. And since you guys provide the oversight there, coming top down saying, hey, at the very least, he needs to not be in uniform right now.
I think, that, as I said, once the GBI finishes their investigation, it will come to the chief, come to internal affairs, and, we'll have to, find out what the findings are at that point.
Okay. So you're saying that the IA investigation is what you all are waiting for to do or perform any action, or at least at the police department level?
First, the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, is looking at, is what I was told earlier today by the interim chief.
Okay. Now, question about the Glenn County Police Department. Since you all are overseeing the GCPD, 2018, a report comes out about them and their accreditation. I think currently, you can correct me, that the Glenn County Police Department is not accredited by the Chief of Police's Council in Georgia, correct?
The IACP, they lost their accreditation back in 2018, correct?
Okay. So, absent that accreditation, they've been sent a report that requires them to do a couple of things at the very least, and one of them has to do with implicit bias training, and the other updating their policies and procedures. What role does the Board of Commissioners play in oversight of what they need to get done to get accreditation back?
To check in intermittently to see where they are along that glide path to get it done. Rules and regulations are a major aspect of that receiving accreditation again. A man was hired from the outside to work specifically on that aspect, and then in order to provide further oversight or input, or we recently put together a citizens advisory board made up of 7 citizens, many of whom had previous law enforcement experience, to monitor exactly what you're just talking about that right now, about what progress is being made on the IACP report, what are the expectations, and when are we going to get it done, and also to give the board feedback along the way as to other issues that they might see and this group was just impaneled, I think, a month and a half ago. They had one preliminary meeting, but there's some pretty experienced individuals that this is not the first time they've bumped up against law enforcement challenges, and so they'll take a wealth of experience and a breadth of knowledge and community engagement to that task. So, I can't promise you where that's going to lead, but it's an impressive group of people that are just getting started on that task now.
Okay, yeah, because that report, at least from my vantage point, came out in September 2018, and we're here in May of 2020. So impaneling the folks to get it done around this time seems like it took a little bit longer than it could have. I'm not sure what was going on with GCPD, but just wanted to make sure we understood what your oversight responsibility was there as the Board of Commissions, as people get to learn about the Board of Commissions.
Can I clarify one thing? That group
Yes, sir.
was not impaneled necessarily to implement the IACP report. It was to follow the progress and to add intellectual firepower to moving them along. They, as we've gotten reports from the county manager, from the chief, they are moving that ball down the field and have been for a period of time. And I think what we're talking about is that for years prior to 2018, probably the necessary detailing and attention to the process was not being implemented. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't
Mhm.
that all of a sudden, rules and regulations were here one day and gone the next. I think certainly had to be a continuum that predated 2018, and so
Mhm.
it's taking a period of time to reestablish the ground rules and the basic infrastructure to regain that accreditation. And certainly this oversight committee will give us 7 extra individuals looking at that rate of progress, and we'll be able to speak up loud and clear if it's not on the right trajectory.
Now, I think it just has been confirmed that there's a person of color on that committee finally. Ricky Walker, I believe, may have been just added to the committee. I know there was a question that just came up in the comments about people of color being on that panel. And I think
there's
that's
at least 2, as I understand it. And
okay. Who might be the other one?
I wish
Don't
I
know
could
the
just
name.
name right off. So one of our lead administrators is a lady named Vicki McClinton. Her husband, I understand, was put on the committee as well, but I've not met him and don't know his background or his name specifically. But I think
Okay.
if you drill down on it, I think there's at least 2 persons of color and one female. So I think an effort was made, albeit somewhat in a delayed fashion, to achieve that necessary goal.
Okay, got you. Now, so let's drill down into relationship with the district attorney's office. There's been a lot that has been said about the DA's office in recent weeks. Earlier, a couple of months ago, I think there may have been some conversation around the incident that happened in February and who authorized or did not authorize the arrest of the McMichaels. And I believe that you were quoted as saying in AJC that you have on good information that police officers at the scene did conclude there was probable cause to make an arrest, contacted Johnson's office to inform her of the decision, and they were told not to make the arrest. So, in terms of your relationship with the district attorney's office, is there any oversight relationship there? Is it a cross relationship? What type of relationship do you all have with the district attorney's office as county commissioners?
As county commissioners, the district attorney's office is not on our organizational chart, so we have no official oversight. But if I could clarify one thing that was, and I've tried to do this over and over, I was misquoted in the AJC 2 ways. One article actually said that Murphy reported that the officers told him that they had spoken directly to District Attorney Johnson. I never said that because the officers never told me that. And the other issue was that I never said the officers said they had probable cause for arrest. Here's what I said. The 911 call came out as the incident was progressing. A patrol officer arrived as the shots were fired, I was told. There was a deceased man in the street, and 3 individuals were involved in the event. And the officers called in Detective Oliver to come advance the evaluation of the situation. She immediately recognized the senior McMichael as having worked in the district attorney's office as her chief investigator until recently. She'd had no personal contact with him. She had, crossed paths with them. But another misunderstanding is that our police officers took certain actions because they were protecting one of their own. I want to make it clear that Senior McMichael had not been a police officer in the Glynn County Police Department for 31 years. And the responding officers were probably in elementary school, when he'd left the force. So that was not an issue at all. But they were, the McMichaels were making a case for self-defense. And I think that the detective investigator, Sergeant Oliver, made the right call to call the district attorney's office for legal advice on how to proceed. And that's where I got that directly from the officers. That's what happened that afternoon. And they did not talk to District Attorney Johnson directly. I was told they talked to Assistant District Attorney Liberty Stewart and Rocky Bridges. And after a back and forth of discussion, she was asked, Sergeant Oliver, do you consider them to be a flight risk? She said no. They have lived in the community for well over 20 years. I don't. She was told, and I got this directly from her, there is no cause for any arrests this afternoon. And in fact, you will be visited by District Attorney Barnhill from the adjacent judicial circuit. His main op.
Okay, that's some straight ass bullshit. That's some straight bullshit. Okay, anybody that's been following this case real close, now check the play. They holding court right at the crime scene, and they trying to determine if they gonna arrest these motherfuckers. And this DA, with her corrupt ass, she got a call from her assistant, one of her assistants. And when, they like to name drop who it was, she said, oh, it ain't no need to arrest him. But see, then she want to play on words, saying she ain't gonna say that her assistant said it, but it came from the motherfucking top. So they sitting up there, you check the play, trying to determine what to do, looking out for their own. I mean, nepotism to the fullest. And you heard what this demon said. He said that McMichael hadn't been a pig for 31 years. He was a bullshit ass investigator. Let's not lose sight. He was stripped of his shit back in 2006. Juicy.
Office is in Waycross, Georgia, about 70 miles west of here. He will be here in the morning to review the evidence with you, and that's exactly what happened. So in less than 24 hours, another district attorney came in, looked at the videotape, talked to the officers, looked at the evidence they had, and told them directly there was no probable cause for any arrest of any of the three men, and it appeared at that time to be a case of self-defense. So, I pose this question, how can the police officers take it upon themselves to go and arrest the men when they've been advised by two different district attorney's offices in less than 24 hours? They saw no need for an arrest, and in one case, a direct quote of no probable cause for arrest. If the police go and arrest, and the prosecutors aren't going to prosecute, where is the sense in that? And furthermore, they would be if there is no prosecution, they'd be slapped with an unlawful arrest or those types of lawsuits that seem to be increasingly frequent.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Dr. Murphy. And again, I'm an attorney. I've worked in the DA's office. I understand police activity through and through. I've had conversations with police officers. Because if I'm watching this and I'm a normal citizen, especially a person of color, and I'm watching this and I say, man, this happens across town on L Street with Maurice Johnson shooting another individual. The police officers do not or would not consult a district attorney or an assistant district attorney, because as police officers, they have the right to consider whether or not probable cause is in place, therefore at least an arrest to be made. So the question becomes, as I'm looking at this from the outside as a normal everyday citizen, and I say, wow, why did we have to have all these conversations to determine whether or not to make an arrest when that is not normalized for police activity? Like police make arrests every single day without calling the district attorney. So why in this instance was it an exception to the rule, the general rule that they're empowered to make arrests based on probable cause?
I agree with your premise absolutely. You know, if this was a less violent crime, I would agree that typically someone is seen running out of a store with goods under their arm and they committed a robbery, they're going to get cuffed up and taken in without calling a district attorney. I think right now what we're doing, we're second guessing those that are on the scene at the time, and certainly it was a terribly unusual situation in that neighborhood to have an episode like that happen. But it's even more unusual to have a man involved that was the chief investigator for the district attorney's office for 20 years. And I think that what I'm being told by various officers is, you come up against a difficult situation and you're being told by the principals involved it's self-defense. You look for further advice up the stream, and the next stop upstream is the district attorney's office. And I agree with your premise. If it had been an ordinary non investigator involved crime in Brunswick, and God forbid, it happens all the time. Yeah, the district attorney isn't called, but I totally understand your premise and see where you're going with this. And I'm not going to be in the position of second guessing anybody, and I can't speak for them because I was not there at the time, but I'm just recounting the course of events as told to me. And then going back to your experience as an attorney, and I don't know if you said you worked in a DA's office, but let me ask you this. If do you think it's probable that any police officer being told in less than 24 hours there was no cause to arrest anybody, that any officer is going to go out and arrest them? I mean, when I pose that to police officers down here, but also police officers that I know in my former place of work in St. Louis, they laugh at me and they go, never going to happen. Not going to happen. The prosecutor tells you there's no probable cause. You're not going to go arrest them. But you tell me, what do you think? Am I wrong? Are they telling me wrong?
Yeah, it is not the prosecutor's determination to determine whether or not probable cause exists for there and to be an arrest effected in most situations. I'm not. Listen, I don't even think this was an exception to the rule. I think at the very least there could have been probable cause for ag assault, for involuntary manslaughter, at least. So I won't get into the legalities of most of it. But what I am saying, Dr. Murphy, is when you look at the landscape of what has happened over the past several years, at least culturally, that one has to indeed question whether or not the McMichaels were giving a benefit of the doubt, so to speak, when it comes to determining whether there's probable cause that another individual in the same situation and circumstances might not have gotten. And for that, a lot of folks feel like that is problematic. So I think that when we come to having conversations about, whose responsibility was it? Was it the GCPD? Was it the DA? What type of responsibility does the board of commissioners have? I think that most people would not think it was their responsibility, but at some point, someone has to feel like, especially given the fact that the GBI had the same amount of evidence that everybody had, and within days they effected arrests. I think that says a lot about some of the things that may have been happening here. So So I appreciate the question. I didn't anticipate getting interviewed, but hopefully that clarifies my personal position on that. But at the same time, I think it's a position shared by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, which is why we're here where we are right now, because this has become a national issue. And I was born and raised there. I know Glenn County, I know Southern culture. This is something that could have easily gone away, quote unquote, without having the national attention it had. And what I want to bring it back to is having a localized attention on it to say the local authorities got it right. So we don't have to call in the GBI. We don't have to call in federal government. That we have local authorities who do the right thing. So that's me on my soapbox. Sorry to do that. I don't generally do that during interviews, but you asked me my personal opinion, and I think that was very important for me to be able to say that. And again, Dr. Murphy, I appreciate you for being here with me. You don't have to do this. You could have ignored the emails and the calls, but you decided to do this. You were the one out of the two that we contacted today who actually decided to get back with us and actually come on tonight. So I want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for having this conversation with me. I do want to be able to take a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Let me just make one more statement, if I could.
Sure.
So
and put your questions in the comments so I can ask him questions once he's done.
So I was just going to say, my email box was blowing up, my phone was blowing up, but I've got to tell you, absolutely everybody that I read, particularly everybody I talked to on the telephone, were incredibly kind, intelligent, and polite. They simply wanted to hear me explain what some of the thoughts were, and it was a very respectful and dignified exchange of ideas and conversation. And for that, I think you and the leadership of the I Run with Mod group deserves a great amount of praise and thanks.
No, thanks. We appreciate that. Really appreciate you for that. I'm going to get to a couple of questions here in just a moment, but make sure you guys put questions in the comments so I can ask them of him. Yeah, some of these I'm not going to be able to ask. Are you sure? Okay, somebody asked this, and maybe you can shed some light on this. How can a DA potentially under investigation continue to fulfill her duties as DA? Is that something that's normal at the local level? Being able to continue to do that while under investigation? I guess that goes for any county level employee.
Right. Again, not in our chain of command, not in our organizational chart, and that's one thing we haven't touched on. Is you were asking about the relationship between the district attorney and the board of commissioners. I'm sure you're aware that I have received along with Commissioner Booker, the only African American member of our board of commissioners. He and I both received a cease and desist letter from an attorney hired by District Attorney Johnson, basically to shut up because we were being accused of malicious slander. And I've been told, although I haven't been served, that lawsuits on the way to both of us. That being said, she is in fact under investigation, as is District Attorney Barnhill. And that investigation was called for by the Attorney General of the state of Georgia, Attorney General Carr. And that's being conducted by both the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, and the FBI, the Department of Justice, got involved. So I spent over an hour with the GBI 10 days ago discussing exactly the issues that we're talking about here and now. And so I think that is going to be a very, very important piece of this puzzle to see what the GBI and the FBI come up with what I think will be a very, very thorough and hopefully expeditious investigation. We need this to move forward, and I think you and I may have discussed this earlier when we spoke. You know, the wheels of government turn very, very slowly. When I was a surgeon, you know, we saw a problem and we fixed a problem. Since I've been a commissioner, we see a problem and it takes a long time before we move to solution. Hopefully this will not fall in that category. As you know, there's a fourth district attorney's office, Holmes out of Cobb County, that's going to prosecute the case now. So I'm sure she will move that case along on that aspect of it. But to answer your questioner's question directly, we will have to see what the GBI comes up with in their investigation as ordered by Attorney General Carr.
Okay, so there's a lot of people who heard you talk about the wheels of justice, and I sense that they are saying, well, those wheels weren't even on the bus. The bus was on blocks in February. So those wheels couldn't even turn to affect justice, that people had to step in and actually put wheels on there to turn those wheels. So I think there's a sense of distrust on the wheels are turning slowly concept to people trying to figure out how they can best pursue justice in an environment where there weren't any wheels on that bus in the first instance.
Well, let me tell you what's even more frightening to me. This went through 3 different district attorney offices for over 2 months. And had not Ahmaud Arbery's mother questioned whether Barnhill, this district attorney Barnhill, was conflicted, and he finally admitted that, oh, well, my son does work in District Attorney Johnson's office, and yeah, he and my son and Senior McMichael had actually done investigations together, and one of them was against an investigation on Ahmaud Arbery. So yeah, I'll step down. But that wasn't until after the autopsy came back on April 1st, and he said the autopsy corroborated his contention that it was a self-defense issue. And when he recused himself, we got District Attorney Durden involved in this. And again, no call for any arrests or any indication that there was any other thinking amongst the DAs that it was anything other than self-defense until the videotape was released. So what scares me the most is, had there not been that delay, where District Attorney Barnhill was finally recused himself, and the videotape was released, this may have been completely swept under the rug, and there would have been absolutely no justice. That's what scares me.
Yeah, so in essence, you're agreeing with me that the wheels were stuck in mud or not even on the bus. So here we are in May of 2020, and to hear people say that locally and say, hey, we got to let this play itself out, especially when you're talking about inter-department stuff that's happening, you got to understand the consternation and the fear that's there for people who want to continue to push this forward and continue to press on this. I do have a question for you from Josiah Watts. When he talks about the police report, because you mentioned the police on the scene, a lot of people have requested that initial police report. Why would you say that there was some discrepancies, so to speak, in that report between what actually was shown in that video that was ultimately released? Because it seems like there may have been
help me. I'm not sure what specifically you're asking me to clarify here.
Yeah, so on the police report side, there was this narrative that this incident, or the murder, actually, I'm going to say the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, was connected with a burglary or an incident that was actually indeed not connected. So there was a connecting incident report within the police report that showed a different incident that was connected with this.
So to answer your question, I have not seen any police reports. Okay.
Okay.
That I have not seen. There was a narrative that was out early about burglary and whether Ahmaud was shot during the commission of a burglary. That initial report comes out based upon 911 call information that comes into the call center, and I can't speak to the point of whether that was contained in the police report because I don't know that for a fact. So, you know, I just can't speak to it. It's something I have not laid my eyes on.
Okay. And then we do know that Wanda, his mother, was also told something different on the front end of this in terms of the shooting itself. So, and she was told this by Glenn County police officers. So I guess, you know, in the oversight capacity of the Board of Commissioners, when there is the lack of transparency at the police level, even when you're talking to the mother of a victim, I'm trying to figure out how you best approach things from a commission level when at the department level with the Glenn County Police Department, there's some things that need to be done.
Well, you're exactly right. And we have discussed exactly what you're speaking about, and it's being looked into, and I have not heard the final explanation of what exactly that course of events was or is reported to be. So I can tell you that is very troubling to many of us, exactly what you just suggested, and I don't have anything to report on that end because it hasn't been given back to me.
Okay. So my name is John Richards. I'm on the I Run with Ahmaud team. You guys have been hearing from us for the past several months trying to get justice for Ahmaud Arbery. I'm here with Dr. J. Peter Murphy. He is a member of the Board of Commissioners, and he was the only one who actually got back with us today of the two that we contacted, and he said that he would agree to join us tonight on this call. We've been talking with him about the incident and also about the commission's role as a whole. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to finish this call because I want to honor your time and the people's time who are here as well. So this question is just overall commission level. You're getting ready to be done with your term, right? You decided not to run again. And let's say, just hypothetically, there's an incident that involves Glenn County Police Department, District Attorney's Office. At the commission level, do you feel like that there are any responsibilities or obligations to Glenn County citizens to ensure that both of those entities pursue justice, which wasn't done in this case around February, and here we are in May? Do you think at the commission level, there's some type of obligation that you all have or that your predecessor will have that you need to make sure that happens?
My successor will have.
Oh, I'm sorry, successor. Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, whoever follows me, absolutely. You're right on, Pastor John, and obviously we are on high alert. We're very sensitized to this. Look, the eyes of the state, the eyes of the country, and the eyes of the world are on us right now, and I think we all feel that terribly acutely. Not only that, but I feel the eyes of the DA are on my back, with a potential lawsuit for speaking up about it. So, I don't feel real great about my personal situation right here, right now. But I promise you that in the time left, anything that I can do, and I know my fellow commissioners feel the same way, to ensure that we get this right, starting with getting the reports back from the GBI and the FBI, and implementing anything and everything that's in those reports that we can implement, we will do it.
Okay. Okay. And do you anticipate getting that back before you leave office in November?
Pastor John, I would pray by the end of the week, but I just don't know. I can tell you what though, the special agent, at least I've not talked to the FBI at all, no contact at all. Our interview 10 days ago with the GBI, special agent was all over it. He's a very professional man. He had another special agent with him, and they're on it. And I can tell you, I can't imagine that both Governor Kemp and Attorney General Carr don't feel as much of the acute intensity and heat of this as the commissioners do. Look, they're on their 4th district attorney on this. You know, Attorney General Carr specifically, he's in a situation of having appointed DA Barnhill on Thursday, the 27th, when he got an email from District Attorney Johnson recusing herself. Well, you know, did she not tell him that Barnhill had already been here and looked at the case? It wasn't a fresh set of eyes. Did she not tell him that Barnhill's son worked for her? Or if he knew that, did he just ignore it? I don't know. We need those answers, and we need them sooner rather than later. And, you know, I'm not winning any friends down here, you know, saying things like that. But by God, we got to get this right, and we got to get it right sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for joining me, Dr. Murphy. One of the things that I would ask you to do for me and for this community that really cares about this case is to, at the very least, read the police report, and at least read through it and see what it says. I know that you're not in an investigative function here, but at the very least, as the oversight for the Glenn County Police Department, being able to read that and seeing what actually is included there, might be helpful for people who are here to say, hey, this commissioner really wants to know what actually went on and what's happening at the police department level.
John, I'm hoping that after nearly an hour of talking to you, people understand that I really want to know what's going on here. But again, as an attorney, you have to understand that maybe there's some things it's better that I really don't know, because then I won't talk about them, and then I won't foul the case for District Attorney Holmes as she starts her investigation and she tries to successfully prosecute the perpetrators of this crime. Does that make any sense to you? I mean,
yeah, at the very least, if you don't want to talk about it, reading it says to me as a constituent, if I'm in Glenn County, reading it says to me that he cares enough to actually read the report. And as someone who provides oversight for the county manager, who provides oversight for the Glenn County Police Department, I'm at least in the know in terms of the initial report that happened here, is what I'm saying.
You make a good point. It'll be the first thing I make a phone call about in the morning.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you for joining me too, man. I'm very helpful, very hopeful that we get justice in this case. And I wanted to make sure people knew what your role was as a commissioner, what you guys did in terms of oversight, what you do in terms of oversight. And I can't overstate the fact that I'm grateful for you joining us on tonight. We'll circle back to you, man. Thankful for you replying to emails, and have a great week. I'm going to stay on with some of the folks here, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go. But thanks for coming through.
John, Pastor John, you've been very kind to me, and I tell you, I got to tell you, I honestly believe all 7 commissioners are in a unified voice to get this thing right, to see justice served, and get it done as quickly as we can to get this healing started in our community. And please share the statement that was put out on May 7th by Chairman Browning that I emailed you today, because a lot of the phone calls I got today, and they were concerned the fact that when people, when statements were read in front of our Board of Commissioner meeting last Thursday, there was no input from the commissioners. And I think you and I had the conversation before that's protocol. The commissioners always allot time for citizens to speak, but because we take it under advisement, we're listening to what's said, we discuss it amongst ourselves. But I want the people that are listening to you, maybe you could even read it to them or post it of what Chairman Browning put out, and it would have been about 10 days before our commission meeting, but it also addresses the issues that were raised in those comments read at our commission meeting the other night.
Okay, we'll be certain to share that with the folks. Share that statement that you sent over to me earlier. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks,
I'll let you
Pastor
go. Yeah, no
Yes,
problem
sir.
at all. Have a good night.
Thanks for asking me.
Hey guys, hopefully that was a conversation that helped you understand some of the structure around the Glenn County Board of Commissions, and you saw that I did do some pushing on some of the feedback that he was talking about. So we want answers, guys, and here's the good news. Because of what you did today, because of what you all
Okay,
did
my
today,
royal family.
we were able to have this conversation tonight. This was less than 3 hours.
All right, my royal family. And that conversation that they had with Dr. Peter Murphy, that was done yesterday. And like I said, I'm going to make a point of putting in, let me click on this one. I had blew that up for a reason because I wanted you to see how she was looking, because like I said, she going cray-cray right now and got her lawyer putting these letters out and threatening to sue people and shit because she concerned because they digging in her ass and stuff. Let's also not lose sight, like I was talking about, June 4th is when they gonna the all three of these pigs, because that's all they is pigs to me, they'll go before the judge and all of that. And you know what I was thinking when they was interviewing Dr. Murphy was it's ridiculous, just all the money, the taxpayers' money that they spend to get them to do their fucking job. They can't even do their damn job. You know, just doing the most simplest shit. And it is imploded to this. And this ain't nothing new, because this is all I know in America. But again, there's things that I look at, they having an answer to us and they don't like it. Even though they're going to keep doing their fuckery, they still have an answer to us, because there was a space and time they didn't have to do that, and that's what they tried to pull off here, and it didn't work, and now getting nationwide attention. And like I said, if anybody new over here on the True Royal family or True Royal, the way I'm approaching this, take your emotions up out of it. You know, we dealt with the Botham Jean situation, and I made a promise to the Royal family. I'm gonna keep my word with the Royal family on this. I'm gonna keep my word about all of this. But I still take joy that people are losing sleep. You know, losing sleep, doing these things to us. But my attitude about the continuous tyranny that they tried to project on us, and then when they try to give us the illusion that, oh, now we're going to get it right. There is nothing that any of y'all can do to satisfy royalty. There's nothing you can do. You could change the entire system overnight, and it would work in our favor, and everything would be righteous in the way things are supposed to work. Y'all have too much damn blood on your hands. So the enemy and the enemy supporters, there's nothing you can do. So y'all can make these gestures. Y'all can, continue to use our tax dollars to pay these people out and all those things that y'all gonna do and all these fuckery that y'all gonna do, and their attitude is like, you satisfied yet? No. You could give these dudes the needle or the gas chamber or whatever y'all do down there or whatever y'all don't do down there or whatever it is. It'll never be enough. So when they kill one of our own and they telling us this fuckery like, oh, well, we fired them. What the fuck you mean? You killed somebody, you locked them up. And then we supposed to be satisfied because somebody then got fired? Or we already know how the game work. We already know you got your KK fund. We already know you take care of your own. But when we take care of our own, then it's a problem. So there's nothing, any gesture that you can do from henceforth to try to satisfy the chosen ones. There is nothing that you can do to ever satisfy royalty. Take that attitude, my royal family. Because all these little mere gestures and all this kind of shit like that, it's still shit going on as I speak in America. And again, America. How do you dismiss 16 bullets? So, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And it's always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.